Hi, Dr. Ruth Anderson here with Enlightened World Network. I am beyond excited to bring today the very first series, the very first show of NDE TV Presents, The Story of My Life with Pegi Robinson. Pegi, I am so pleased to have you here, and I can't tell you how excited I am about your new series that's coming up.
Yes, actually, it's called This Is My Story.
Thank you. Thank you. And I've written all of the promos wrong, but that's good. Okay.
Oh,
We've got it. And your special guest today is Terry Angel. But before we get started with Terry, just want to talk to you for a minute, Pegi, about your show, your NDE TV. And just quickly, because folks can go on and hear some of the other shows or watch on YouTube, but quickly, how did you get to this place in your life that you now have a series called NDE TV?
well, I was involved with IONS. I had two local groups and I had an international online group. And I had actually realized it wasn't a good fit for me. And I also wanted to do something that would help showcase people that haven't had a chance to talk about their near-death experience yet. I was finding IONS really like the same people. You know, if you were a doctor and had an NDE, or, you know, a neurosurgeon, you know, a college professor, you know, that's great. Let's hear those stories. But it seems like the little guy, the janitor, the babysitter, you know, they weren't getting their story out. And that really spoke to my heart. And because I knew what it was like to be sitting at home watching in awe of all these famous NDErs and think, oh, I'd love a chance to tell my story. I know that will never happen. And then when it started happening for me, I still thought about the old me, you know. And I want to give those people a chance, give everybody a chance, because I believe these stories are created equal. Not one is better than the other based on your status. They're all miracles and they're so fascinating. And I'm finding so many interesting stories that would have never been heard before, you know, and I'm giving them this chance. And then once I meet them, I'm like, hey, go on Jeff Mara. You know, he gets a lot of views, or go on here, and letting them know how they can get that story out. And then someone will decide to start writing a book. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm here to help you. And I just love it.
Great. Well, so for folks that don't know, IANDS, IANDS, International Association of Near-Death Studies, and it is a worldwide organization, but it's not the perfect fit for everybody that's been through a near-death experience. Now, you have had two near-death experiences, one of them when you were 5, drowning, and the other one was an ectopic pregnancy at 25. I know it's hard to say quickly. How have those experiences altered your life, or life as you perceive it now?
Well, after the second one, I recalled the drowning. I recalled the first one 21 years, 20 years prior. And it just, like, the sky opened up and this big film showed me this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, did this happen? And all I cared about then, 1986, was, did I drown? And how did they find me? And so I went to my family one at a time, because I was above the phone watching. And so I knew he was there. And I said, did I drown when I was little? And each one said, yeah, you did. And so that was just confusing. How did, you know, because I just died for the ectopic pregnancy. I was in heaven. I was talking to God. I was begging to come back, and then I returned. And then I remember this drowning. And there's no books that I knew of. You know, now I find out there was a few out there and things was happening, but I didn't know that. I live in, you know, Southeast Ohio in the country, and just, you know, high school education at the time, and, you know, small libraries. I mean, there's no internet. I thought this only happened to me, and I didn't know what to do with it. But then strange things started happening. I started saving lives. I was like being led, okay, they don't understand this and they don't understand that. But then after a few times of that, I was starting to realize something's going on here. And I wonder if it had anything to do with these death events. You know, I didn't have the word near death experience. And so years went by, and just, what do? You don't know. And I started hearing some about near death experiences. And for years still, though they intrigued me, and I read a couple books, and when I Survived and Come on, I was just like, wow, this is just like filling my heart, and I'm so excited. And I don't know why. And even I started watching near death experience on IANS and listening. I still wasn't owning that's what mine was, because it was so personal, so deeply embedded in me, still not able to talk about it, think about it. And then once I did start opening up to my husband, the poor guy, I would be all animated, stand in front of him, and because these words coming out of my mouth was so scary. I was in heaven, like, what are you saying? And this and that. And I would shake. And then when I started to calm down and accept it and say, you know what, this is my truth.
Mhm.
And I'm going to start speaking my truth. And I know what people are going to say. I know what they're going to think. But I'm going forward here because my life was given back to me to raise my kids. And that is miraculous to me. And every day I live in appreciation of that. And I just want to give back to God. I just want to give back to God every day of my life. I'm not a saint. I'm not perfect. Let me tell you, I cuss, I make mistakes, I get angry. But in my heart, I'm going forward with, let's get these stories out there. And I want to help everybody get their story out there.
And you do. You have a fabulous channel on YouTube, and NDE TV Presents, or NDE TV. So be looking for that, folks. There's some great videos on there. And we've also brought many of those videos over to EWN's own YouTube channel. So you can find Pegi Robinson shows on there as well. So last thing I want to share is that you are the author of a book, The Will of a Wildflower. It is available on Amazon. And it is about is it both near-death experiences or just the first one?
My whole life story.
Great. And the gifts, the spiritual gifts that you have received going through those near-death experiences. So be looking.
There's the first half is a lot about child abuse. There's a social work department in Kentucky that's using now my book to recommended reading for their students interested in going in child welfare. So there's a lot of child abuse in there. But I kind of felt I had to tell the bad in order for people to appreciate the good.
Okay, so we'll be watching for that, The Will of a Wildflower. So I am going to get out of your way and give you and Terry the floor. So I'm so pleased that you're here.
Thank you, Ruth. So today, NDE TV presents its first episode of This Is My Story, and today's guest is Terry Angel, who's had several near-death experiences since she was a little girl. Today, we're going to focus on her most recent near-death experience. Hi, Terry.
Hi, Peggy. Thank you for having me on. I'm honored to be your first guest on your brand new show here on Enlightened World.
Can you tell us how old you were or how long ago this was when your last near-death experience occurred?
Yes, the most recent one happened in 2018. It was early in the year in 2018. And let me first say, I've been in touch with angels my whole life. I've always known they were there. They have always been my solace, my guide, helping to protect me and keep me in a safe place, because I have had a life of much abuse, that we were talking earlier, and have that similarity. So I've always been aware of them and known them. Over the years, I've gotten to know each one individually and what they look like and what they feel like. So the most recent experience that I had, I was living alone, and I had two cats at the time, which I recently lost them a couple of years ago. But at the time I had two cats, and I had rearranged my room where I was at, and I'd moved their cat bed closer to my bed. Well, I'd been up late working, so I had a lot of irons in the fire at the time. I was going like crazy. I was working on a retreat that was coming up that year. And I got up to turn the lights and the computer off, and I forgot that the bed was right there. Their cat bed was right there where I was. And I tripped over it. And when I tripped, I should have fallen like head first. But somehow I twisted around. I guess I was trying to stabilize myself. I twisted around and I landed on my back. And I heard the crack when my head hit the tile floor. I literally heard it crack open. And I went down and I was laying in a spot where there was nothing that I could pull on to get myself up off the floor. I didn't have my phone with me. I was just laying there bleeding. And I don't know how long I had laid there in that position, but I remember I just kept fading. I remember just getting weaker and weaker in my physical body. And I'm thinking, how am I going to get myself out of this one? The cats can't call for help. I don't have the phone to call for help. And so I just laid there, and eventually I got so weak that I felt myself physically, I felt the body just go. And I saw my body as I went out of it. And I immediately was in the presence of an angel. I know now that it was Archangel Azrael. I didn't know him at that time. I was not very familiar with that angel that helps people who are leaving their physical body. And I remember there were more angels. I just could see that. I could see this almost like a fog that I was in. And I'm looking at my body. I could see all the blood. When you have a head wound, it bleeds profusely. So there was a lot of blood coming out of the head. And I remember being asked, do you want to go? And I'm looking at my body and I'm thinking, well, I'm in no pain. You know, nothing's hurting. So obviously there's nothing, no sensory perception in the body. It's just like laying there bleeding. And I thought it would be so easy. That was my first thought. It would just be so easy just to give in, just to go with these angels that are waiting to help me to move on. And then for some reason, something kicked in and I thought, no, I can't leave yet. And that was the moment I'm going, wait, I've got so much to do. And I have all of these things that I've been working on. And that's why I guess I was in that state of not paying closer attention to what was happening with me. But as soon as I said that, and I felt like I verbally said it to this angel, no, I can't go. I've got too much left that I haven't completed yet in this particular lifetime. I really wanted to go. It was so torn. And I'm sure you probably felt that part of that experience where you feel like, oh my gosh, that would just be so great to feel this peace.
My drowning, I did.
Yeah.
My drowning, I thought, might as well. I mean, I don't have to eat my vegetables. I don't have to go into bedtime. This is okay. I can fly.
Yeah. It's just that floating energy of, wow, this feels good, you know? And it was like, I hadn't felt that peace in a while because I had been so caught up in life. So there was a real tear there of, do I go or do I stay? And when I finally made the decision, okay, I think I need to be on Earth. I think I need to complete some things before I make that final transition. As soon as I made that choice, they helped me up off the ground. There was no way, bleeding out, that I could have stood upright. But as soon as I said it, as soon as that was my decision, I was on my feet. And I was able to grab a towel, put it on the back of my head, which was still bleeding profusely. And I was able to get help to get to the emergency room. I ended up having 5 staples in the back of my head because I had cracked it wide open. And it was a beautiful experience, actually. I really didn't have any pain. And even afterward, even after I was stapled back together and, you know, I was weak because of all the blood I had lost. But it was such a turning point because I felt like that had happened on purpose so that I would have my eyes open and say, okay, look at what you're doing. You're not paying attention. And one of the things I wasn't paying attention to was me and taking care of me, doing the self-care. I was taking care of everything else, you know, and had all these big plans and things that I was working on, but I wasn't taking care of me. And that's been kind of a pattern in my life. You know, I'm very driven. So when I start something, I'm in it all in. And sometimes the body gets put in the background. So there's been those times when they've had to get my attention, and that was a real eye opener for me to slow down, look at what's important, make priorities, and schedule the time for me to take care of myself.
I think people don't realize how what you're talking about is, I don't really know what words to use other than our interaction with the universe, our interaction with God, our interaction with our angels, the wisdom, the knowledge. I call it the land of knowing, because there's decisions made for our best interest and for what we decide we want. And we are asked and we decide, and there's an interaction there. We're not alone in those moments.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. And from what I understand from the teachings I've received from the angels and from my spirit guides, we have certain endpoints in our human experience. And we can decide, we have free will. So it can be like knocking yourself out and splitting your head open, or it can be other experiences, that happen, drownings, when somebody's abusing us and it reaches that point where, you're not really there in your body anymore. And that's happened to me as well. Now, the other experiences that I've had, I don't remember that specific question being posed to me, do you want to go? But it was almost like an understanding in those other experiences. Like I had the choice, and I knew I had the choice. This time it was like very clear. Do you want to go? Are you ready? Do you want to leave now? And so I think whatever that experience looks like for people, it's all unique and individual for you, but you do have the free will, and it's your choice if you want to stay and continue on and hopefully learn from the experience, whatever the lesson was that came through.
Yeah. Were you changed after this? I know you had other NDEs, but did each one seem to alter you and your personality in some way?
Absolutely, yes. Everyone, there was a time of reflection after it happened. In one, I was in an abusive relationship. And so that was kind of like the real eye opener of what was going on. When you're caught up in abuse, especially if it's like a romantic relationship and that abuse just is ongoing, you don't really see any way out, and you don't make that choice to cut that out. So after the NDE and that one, it was like, okay, I am not doing this anymore. But with this one, it was more of prioritizing. And that was what I got from it. I was doing online shows every day. I did share with my audience what had happened, but I didn't go really in depth about how life-changing that moment was to really make that decision of, okay, this is what I have committed to in this lifetime, and I want to fulfill that. I want to complete what I started. And I already knew there was something bigger that was coming down the road for me. So I had all of that going on, but it was that conflict. That was the first time I've really had that conflict of go or stay. So I felt like that was really huge to understand and to be able to share with others that, we always have choices. We always are in control and have the free will to make those choices. So
Now, I know you,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I know you had a near-death experience as a child. Were you a different kind of kid, do you think, because of that?
Yeah, I really felt like I didn't even belong here on earth my whole life. It was like, what am I doing here? But when I was a teenager and my appendix had ruptured, and I could watch what was going on in the operating room. I could watch all of that was taking place and how they were trying to save my life. And I think that was at the point where I really knew that the angels had my back, that they were protecting me 100%. Because after that, I got to know them more clearly and understand what my role was with them, that they were going to take care of me. I had to take care of me, but I also could call on them, especially Michael. Michael was the one that was helping me through that experience. So I was always different. I was the one that was weird, that could see spirit and hear them and talk to them. And so it just increased after that. Yeah,
I hear people in the ear. I hear in the ears say a lot. Archangel Michael, was there, and I'm like, how did you know? Like, how do people know that? I don't understand. Can you explain that for us?
Well, Michael is such a powerful angel. I mean, they all are very powerful and strong, but Michael comes through as that that guard that's going to just hold you or pull you out of danger. Michael has an essence of being in control. So when you're feeling out of control, and then there's this presence that's right there with you that says, you got this, I'm here, I'm holding you, I'm lifting you up when you can't stand. That is that angel Michael that is going to protect you at all costs. He's going to put you in this bubble of protection that nothing can get through. When I first encountered Michael, I was a very young child, and I was sitting on the side of a mountain. That was my Zen spot, my place to get away from all the chaos. And Michael would always sit there with me and teach me and show me things that I had lived in other lifetimes. I started seeing my past lives when I was that young, and I knew what my heritage was. I knew where I had come from and the things I had brought with me from all those other experiences. So Michael is a teacher, he's a guide, he's the protector, the guardian. And when he comes in, he comes with a flavor of warmth, and that you're okay. It's like being held in a mother's arms and being shown that you're protected against anything, no matter what it is. And just put your trust in that. He helps you to find that faith and that trust inside.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I think that's important when you're having that near-death experience. You want to be held. You want to say, hear those words. It's okay. You're okay. And so he is going to be there. And you're right. I've talked to people that have had the near-death experience also, that where Michael showed up and was right there, right beside of you.
Yeah, and after my drowning, during the drowning, I heard a voice but didn't see anyone, and said, don't go yet. If they find you soon, you might go back. So that was the first voice of angel I heard. And then right after the drowning, I thought, well, maybe I'll go back to the pond, because, that I was about to go flying, and or I had been flying, but I want to do more of that. And then she appeared, but mine was just light figure hovering over the road of a slim, tall woman with a flowing gown.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's like I say, it's different for each person, but I think the one common one, other than Michael, is Archangel Azrael. And it wasn't until this last near-death experience that I really felt and communicated with him. And since then, I've really gotten to know what his purpose is, how he helps those that are transitioning, those who are ready to get out of their body and go to their next adventure in spirit. And Azrael comes with, it's a warmth, but it's also just like a guide. Like he's going to hold your hand and say, this way, move this way, and always with the option of, do you want to? I'll lead you. You want to go through that tunnel? You want to go to the light? Come on, I'm right here beside of you for it. So he's that companion that ushers us onto that other side.
And for people that may not understand it on the level that you do, I like to say that, sometimes it can be, because I experienced this once. I was working outside in the backyard, and all of a sudden something caught the corner of my eye. And I was like, two big birds were coming. Like, what? They left that shadow, in the sky. They come from over the cow field, right over, still stayed up high, but over top of me, to like down lower. And it's just like the see feel thing. It's just like I knew, like I couldn't say, okay, there's an angel, you know. It was like, what? And they said, are you praying for a certain person? I'm like, no, you know, I haven't prayed for them in years. I'm thinking, why are they in trouble? And like, oh, okay. And they took off. And I'm thinking, what's wrong? You know, and the person that they asked me about, my son called me the next day and told me they passed. And so I got like, I need to be prepared next time for something like that happen. Yeah, I'll pray for him right now. I mean, know what's going on, you know, because we don't understand these things. So maybe if a person's, you ever felt something just come up upon them and say something and you're like, whoa, you know, and one time something come right through me, through my windshield and just yelled at me. I couldn't see anything. It was kind of like a bluish blur, like this bluish spirit. And like yelled at me. There's this guy down the road has 2 girls and he needs you. And I'm like, whoa, I'm going to have to go to the mental hospital. Oh my gosh. You know, if that ever happens again, I'm going to go check myself in, you know. But then later it come to pass that, you know, and I've been with him 25 years now, you know, and he's got 2 daughters, but it was like a month later before you know, we hooked up. But and then as a teenager, there was voices come. When first time I seen my husband in high school before we met years later, it said, I was to notice him, but not approach. And this is what goodness looks like. But I wasn't to approach him, that I was to go and be a better person and we would be together someday and stuff. What in the world, you know? And then I was like, I'm an old lady. I can sit back like, oh my gosh, connect all the dots of these strange experiences that I thought was just my mind playing tricks. Was I going crazy for a split second out of my normal routine? And I'm like, no, these things actually guided me through my life.
Right. Yes, they do. And we become more aware of them by listening, you know, listening to other people's experiences. That's why I'm so excited that you're doing this show, because, you know, people will maybe their memories may be clicked of when they had their experience, and they can understand more fully what the role of the angels play in that. You know, that Azrael is always there. That's the one that's going to be right by your side. And I didn't realize that until I had that experience. And now I know what his role is. I know how to help others that are getting ready to transition, because I can tell them, just call this angel. This angel is going to be there. Just feel him and get to know him even before you leave your body. He's going to be there for you. So
I'm also hoping I can bridge the gap between, you know, we have these new age theories and philosophies and things that are liberal, and then we have the conservatives, you know, with Christians, which I fall into, but yet I fall into, you know, understanding the spiritual things, not all of them. And so there seems like they're on separate sides of a line here. And I think there's the middle ground is finding the truth and what your truth is. And it may not fit into somebody's theory, or you may not go for, you know, say reincarnation, which I'm not sure about either, or some of these other things. We don't all have to agree on everything. Just if they would start to open themselves up to their own true experiences. And like you said, listen to other NDEs. And it just helps us start to understand. My cat's bugging me. And find out the truth for ourselves, because it does fit Christianity. It does fit spirituality. It doesn't have to be an either or, you know, all this fighting and divide right now. And I think if we could come together and realize how miracles are going through our lives every day. I mean, even last night was at my son's all day, got home late. My husband went to feed the animals, and the night before we had just got some sheep and a little baby goat. We put the baby goat way out front pasture with the other goats. And he got home last night and he says, that little baby goat's gone. I'm like, oh no, it probably got up near the road, because that's where we keep the goats closest to the road, a field up there. And I just started praying, dear God, please, you know, this baby goat, I'm praying for this baby goat. I don't want to be hurt. And he went back out and checked. He come back and he said, that baby goat is clear out in the backfield with the sheep. Now we're talking electric fences. We're
Right.
talking more than a football field distance. And how did this little tiny baby goat end up in that fence with those sheep? You know, and I'm like, thank you, Jesus, you know, thank you for
Yeah.
saving that goat.
Yeah.
Because we were just sure it was lost or it got hit by a car, you know, what happened to it? So that's where it feels at home. So that's where it's going to stay. It's going to stay with the sheep.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
you know, just little things like that, we just look over. We think, oh, that's weird. How did that happen?
Mhm. Yeah.
You know, and you were
it's
telling a
important.
story before that you weren't breathing and then, you know, you come back. I mean, these are miracles. And in my heart, I feel we need to take to pause and thank God for every time we are given a miracle, because I believe the more we recognize them and thankful for them, the more we're going to get. And we all need some miracles right now.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, it's important too. You're talking about the baby goat, and somebody might say, oh, you know, it was just an animal, but our animals are just as important as we are. They are spirit, they're unconditional love. And the angels help them also when they're transitioning. There's angels that help them onto the other side. So everything that has energy is important. Everything is just as important as everything else. There's nothing more equal, nothing less equal to anything else. So yes, there's miracles that happen with animals, with people, with nature, you know. And so yeah, we do have miracles every day, and I feel like those experiences that I have had where I've been out of my body and I've looked down and seen what was taking place, it was a miracle each time. It was a miracle that changed me in some way and opened my eyes to really look and be more aware of this life, this chance that we have here on this earth to make an impact and make a difference. I feel like that has shaped me. Each one has shaped me into who I am right now. And I'm grateful. You know, I wouldn't change anything as I look back over it, even the abusive relationship where I learned so much. And that was the one you were talking about where I was choked to death. And I wouldn't change that because now I understand more about dealing with that type of energy and the choice that I made to continue on beyond that. I wasn't going to let that be the end of me, you know, that determination of, yeah, there's more to life than this.
Sometimes when bad things happen now, I think, you know, what's the lesson? I think I'm being taught compassion in this. I think I'm being taught to be kinder in this situation because I was just shown how bad something hurts. So I'm going to try to be kinder and make sure I don't do that to somebody else. It's something I might not have thought of before, but now I know how deeply it hurts.
Yeah.
I mean, we're taught lessons if we humble ourselves to them.
Everything has a purpose. There's no accidents or coincidences. If it happened, then just step away and say, okay, what was the purpose here? And I've learned to do that. Don't ask why, because then you're putting yourself in that victim mode. Just say, what was the purpose here? And what can I take from this to move forward?
Like, you know, even high school, I would see kids fighting like kids do. And everybody gathers around and cheers and loves this, except me. I'm the one, you stop it right now. Stop, you know, because I was always beat. I was always the one on the floor getting hit. And I didn't understand that laughter. You know, I was the one that laughed at, you know, as I laid there hurting. And so I was the one speaking up. And here's this whole crowd, and I'm the one, you stop now, stop this fight, stop. And it takes being through something to being better than a situation that was just always this way it is. You see it through different eyes.
Yes, you do. It's complete clarity once you go through that, and you know how other people are feeling when they experience something like that. And I think that's one of the things that happen when we talk about our near-death experiences. We understand what that felt like, that moment of just the relief, That's what I felt when I was laying there on the floor. It was just a release. It was just, I don't have the heaviness of the 3D body. I don't have anything other than peace. So we understand that when we talk to each other, we understand what that felt like. And we can have more empathy and compassion, like you were saying, for those that went through something.
Yeah.
But
This is
I'm
like
so
you and I
glad.
talking before the show. You was just telling me a little bit about your experiences. Like, that's me. That's me. That's me, And it's very rare that I like see my reflection in the mirror in another person, because I feel so different than everybody all the time. And then you're sitting here, I'm listening to you. I'm like, were we soul sisters? It's like we're so much alike.
Yeah, lots of mirrors there. As I was listening to your story when you were on another show with me, and I'm just like, oh my God, I can relate to everything you're saying. So we have had very similar life experiences in this lifetime, and
I had
probably more than one lifetime.
Yeah, I had an older sister-in-law in my first marriage. She's so mean to me all the time. And finally I asked her why, and she says, well, everybody always treated me like that, so I thought I'd treat you like that. And I thought, but I always thought because I was treated like that, I would not treat somebody like that. And so not everybody learns a lesson through their hardship, because we can choose to be bitter and mean and take our revenge out on other people, or we can seek out those that need our protection.
Yeah, we can break that cycle of abuse.
Yes.
And that's what needs to happen, is to say, no, I don't want to do that to somebody else. That didn't feel so good when I went through it. So yeah, we're the ones that are in control of breaking the cycle.
Yes. And just like those men that abuse, what was done to them. I had a cousin visit me recently, and we sat and talked all day about my family, and he told me some things that I didn't know about, and I told him some things he didn't know about, and together we was able, at the end of the day, be able to realize why these predators were the way they were. It was done to them.
That's the pattern. And when you research abuse, that's shown over and over again. We learn when we're growing up from those who are taking care of us, and we see, and our peers, the bullying that can happen there. So that's where that comes from. And like I said, we have control of breaking the cycle. We don't have to continue with it on and send it forward into the other generations. We can put the end to it.
And the day before I decided to write a book, I had decided I wanted rid of all these bad memories, the abuse and everything. And so I wrote them all down notebooks, and I thought if I'd stuck it in a drawer, that the next day it would be out of me and I could leave it in that drawer knowing it's over there. I don't need to pick it up and carry it. The next morning I woke up and I felt just as bad. And I got this like vision that took over me. And in that vision, I realized that I was shoving all the miracles, spiritual experiences under the rug, the same as I was the abuse. And I grabbed my laptop and I started writing. I didn't stop for 3 months. And I felt like there was someone standing on the other side of my laptop listening. And I was just telling my story to whoever that was from beginning to end. It got to the hard parts, the gut wrenching, before I would think, I cannot do this. I cannot tell this. I cannot go there again. This would just give me peace. You got to go through this so people can understand the impact the miracles had on your life. Being rescued, that you weren't alone when I thought I was, and how it all played out, and like a perfect puzzle, like pieces come together like a kaleidoscope. It's like an orchestra. By the end of my life, once I could see it in that way, because the day before I did not see it that way. It was like this darkness was covered me, and it was like this curtain just moved and opened up into the light, and I'm like, I can see clearly now. And I want everybody to see clearly. And I changed the name so I wasn't bad talking people, because I'm telling the truth here. And so I don't want to, embarrass people and things. But I'm like, I am telling my truth. And it's not about getting rid of it. It is about embracing it and thanking God that He was with me on this hill and helped me. He was with me when I was kidnapped and raped and rescued me. He brought me back. It kept me from going back in that pond when I drowned. Then the ectopic pregnancy, I was told it was my time, and I got to come back and raise my wonderful boys. And, playing the pool yesterday with my kids and my grandchildren. And I'm thinking, I'm so blessed to be here.
Yeah, I say that every day, Peggy. Every day I wake up and I thank God for another opportunity, another chance to live in this world and make an impact however I can. And I ask every day, what can I do today to make a difference? Every day. So the NDEs, the angels, they all just guide and share and open up to the very best we can be. We have that choice. We have the free will. We have the power to say, I'm going to either change something or I'm going to stay caught up in the drama and the spin of the world. It's our choice. And that's why I wanted to share my story. You had asked and I said, yeah, I have nothing. My life is an open book anyway. Everybody knows everything.
And you know what? Maybe things do get really bad that everybody's worrying about. How bad is this going to get? Well, people can be jumping off the bridge or they can be dancing in the street. Mm-hmm. Even up to our last moment, we still have free will. Yeah. And I'm going to be dancing in the street and I'm going to be praising God and I'm going to be happy because we know where we're going. It's all good. There's no reason for us to worry about anything really. I mean, don't put your head in the sand and not care about what's going on and not try to fix things for everybody. But ultimately, we know what's on the other side.
Yeah.
Ladies, I want to thank you for this first show of This Is My Story. Terry, thank you for sharing your story. Peggy, thank you for sharing your truth. And I absolutely love that the two of you coming together by sharing your near-death experiences can see the commonalities in the path that you both have taken. And it's true. It's like looking at soul sisters here. What a delight to have you both find each other. So just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for being here at Enlightened World Network. Peggy, we are so looking forward to having you be a regular here with us on Sundays. And with that, we're going to let folks go. We've got a time coming up together here for another show.
Yes, and every Sunday at 10 Eastern, I will be on This Is My Story with a new NDE.
That's great. And it is on Facebook Live at EWN Enlightened Living. And the reason that we chose Enlightened Living for this platform is because when you realize what death is, it helps the living just go that much easier. That gives you new perspectives on being alive. You don't have to fear death. And we're learning that over and over here. So take good care, everybody. God bless.